Giannis back from the knee injury. Contributed significantly, 20, 17, and 35 minutes, but Suns backcourt in particular, DeAndre Ayton awfully good as well. The reasons why Phoenix grabs game one. Giannis with some thoughts after the Bucks, their first finals game since '74, came up short.
Felt great. Obviously I'm trying not to make it about me, but felt great. The medical staff cleared me to play. Out there I had my balance. Felt my knee was stable. Did not feel pain, so I felt good.
That play was did you know?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I felt good.
Go ahead, Jeff.
You just told Eric that you had lots of discussions throughout the week, but what was the rehab process? Was it grueling? Was it time consuming? How many hours were you spending a day trying to get that knee ready?
24. From my treatment, from lifting, from getting on the court, pull sessions, keeping my foot elevated, like 24 hours a day. And obviously it wasn't easy, but I was willing to do it. And I think the medical staff had a great program for me that I was able to do what I have to do to stay in shape and at the same time recover and not have a lot of swelling in my knee. And I was declared me to play. I felt good. My knee did not feel no pain. The swelling was down, so I was like, okay, good to go.
Lori?
I don't think we believe you about the pain thing, but I wondered if you
Why?
saw, because we know you. But it's okay, I understand. But I wondered if you saw the video of your injury.
No.
No, it makes sense. And then the wrap that you had, did that hinder your range of motion at all? I mean, you were pretty wrapped up on the knee and.
No. I'm trying my best here to not make it about my knee, but I'm gonna say one more time that my knee felt good. Obviously, you when you go and play a game, you never know what's gonna happen. A play with Jay Crowder might happen, or the same play that happened that like you don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just happy that I'm out there, and I'm able to help my teammate in any way possible. And participate in NBA Finals, my first NBA Finals. So I'm just, try to, put my attention in that and not in, if my knee hurts, if I feel, At the end of the day, I'm out there. I feel good. I don't feel pain. I can run, I can jump, I can set screens. I can rebound the ball. I can do stuff. So I'm good. I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm out there. At the end of the day, I haven't watched the clip, but when the play happened, I thought I'm going to be out for a year, So I'm just happy that two games later, I'm back.
Tried to make it not about his knee, but obviously people had questions. Suns minus 180 to win the series early on Tuesday with a Game 1 victory, and now minus 360 at Caesars Sportsbook by William Hill. If you're interested, Phoenix is
to be able to put together this entire season. And, I think they come about in different ways. I mean, you see the sort of calm that Monty Williams has. And he's always been that way. I mean, I've been watching Monty Williams on some level since he was in high school, again, a D.C. guy.
Sure.
And Chris demands it. And it doesn't mean he has to demand it verbally. But, I remember asking Devin Booker at some point very early in the season, the start of the season, after the practices and training camp. And I said, what is this like with Chris being this demanding? And Book, his eyebrow went up and he said, it's not for everybody. And
right.
he was still paying the ultimate compliment because they revere him. This is not a normal sort of veteran player, respected by the youngsters. It isn't. It's much more than that. Chris Paul felt that Ayton hadn't really been coached all that hard relative to what he ought to see in terms of what he ought to be. And so you talk about demanding. Chris started this season that when people outside of Greater Phoenix weren't really paying attention, they have been, since the All-Star break. But the two of them, the marriage between Monty Williams and Chris Paul, superstar and coach, that's an enormous, enormous part of what's happened here this winter and spring and summer now.
rings in sports can be almost unfairly held against those that don't win them, in my opinion. If you go back to your typewriter column days, Michael, and you assess what the significance of this first step towards potentially adding a ring to Chris Paul's already lengthy resume, how would you go about describing what he provided specifically tonight?
Well, I think that tonight was bigger for the Suns. I know it's the NBA Finals. It's big for everybody. It's not like the Bucks have won anything anytime recently. But Chris understands the entirety of this because he's been on the wrong side of it, Scott, as you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's been on some just unfortunate series enders, unlucky, not well played. I mean, Chris will run these down to you. He owns it. And he wants to get away from it, but to get away from it, you got to play away from it. It just doesn't go away. And so I think that I talked to Chris, and he said, we know we can be really good. And I said, so how can you? Do you hear what I'm saying? Really, really good. For Chris Paul to say that, he's ramping up to the playoffs, and he understood what was possible. And then you get in the playoffs and you beat LeBron and the Lakers, no matter if Anthony Davis is injured or not. You know, you sweep Denver, you beat the Clippers, you go through these things that he had been on the other side of. I mean, Chris Paul had been within what? A game or a good really quarter of beating the Golden State Warriors when he was with Houston, and he pulled a hamstring, and he was the guy. People keep saying, well, we put an asterisk next to this because, you know, the Suns aren't playing teams with their best players. What about the teams that got Chris Paul and his team, but without their best player or their most important player in Houston when it was Chris Paul with the injury? So he realizes these opportunities don't come along often. And while he hasn't said this, Scott, I'm certainly thinking this is somebody watching this team a lot. Think of the Western Conference next year. And if you just sort of say to yourself, oh, we got another shot at this. We got a young Booker, and we got this, and now we got a great coach of the year. And you come back and you got Kawhi back in the lineup for the Clippers, and you got Anthony Davis and LeBron healthy, and you got Jamal Murray healthy, and you got what other changes are going to happen in the Western Conference. You can't look later. You got to look now. And I thought Chris played with that urgency both against the Clippers in that clinch game, and I thought he played with it certainly tonight, and everybody followed his lead. That's the big part of this. They follow him with a dedication and a fervor, if you will, and I think that really speaks well of everything Phoenix has got going on.
Michael, I can't tell you how many times, particularly at the Masters, I've said, when that opportunity presents itself, you better grab that jacket by both lapels because you think it's coming later and it might never knock on your door again. Look, still three wins to go. No one's throwing a parade yet, but they win the first one. I just have a last sort of overarching thought about these finals, Michael, because, look, you get to go to Springfield because of a career that's been distinguished in a lot of ways, but you covered so many finals. This one lacks a familiar villain or protagonist because you're talking about 75 years combined not being here. I'm interested in how to feel just in terms of this is the finals and these are teams that we're not familiar with being on this stage. I just wonder how you sort of consumed it.
Well, Scott, I'm certainly involved in it. I'll admit emotionally in a way that I might not be with others because I'm the editor on Chris's very personal project, which has less to do with the season than it does with his life and family. And so I've been sort of close to him and that all season. And when he was going to be traded to the Suns, it was something I sort of had to sit on for a few days because he thought this was going to happen. He was going to come here. He wanted to play with Booker. And so the Suns have been, to me, as good a story as there's been in the NBA this season. And I know the story's been dominated. The season's been dominated by injuries and this person out and this star out and this superstar missing. And the Suns have somehow navigated that without having it, even though it looked like it might happen to Chris again. First game, remember, against LeBron, he suffers that injury with the shoulder. We don't know what's going to happen. Then he tests positive for COVID, which statistically, when you've been vaccinated, is just something that doctors say is insanely, like next to impossible. So that story, for a lot of people, is good enough. But Scott, I think that it's really important. Look, the league